Would you be friends with a mass hero? It's a strange question for sure. On one hand, all of these guys are revered and celebrated by hordes of fans and they're really cool characters for sure. But on the other hand, would you ever socialize with them? What would they talk about? How does their day start? What do they do every day when a plot event isn't happening? What do they do after their plot has happened? Is it just more plot like a Sisyphean treadmill? You get the idea. Now, this isn't fair criticism because characters don't need to be this detailed or well-rounded or even real for a masala story to work, or for any story to work for that matter. But what if this guy was real? What would he look like? Aavesham is incredible. It is the funniest film this year. It rules as a paisa vasool mass vehicle. It is an all-out deconstruction of masala heroes and in turn masculinity to an extent. And it does all of this without a hint of cynicism or irony. It deconstructs with reverence. Contrary to most hero's journey blockbusters, this narrative is twofold: out-of-depth hijinks and Ranga's story of growth. The latter is what really sells Aavesham as a story. Ranga is a literal what happens after question to someone like Rocky Bai or Pushparaj. Let me explain. So you know these gangster stories, right? Protagonist is in rags, rises up through sheer tenacity and force, laying waste to hundreds in the process while enduring tragedies with sheer will and coldness. Sound familiar? Yeah, Ranga has done that. In fact, this ending is Aavesham's starting point. And the first thing it does is remove the idea of the fall. You've seen the fall storyline. In essence, the gangster rises up and gets what he wants, but oh shit, now he's become a monster who must die or run away or just get marked resolved. Most gangsters have a fall and nothing else, but not Ranga. Ranga has made it. Rich beyond belief, an army of men who are ready to kill at his say-so. And when we meet him, he's living it up at Mayuri Bar with the best right-hand man in all of cinema. He's constantly smiling, very high energy. Contrary to what you traditionally see, he's kinda like a kid. This film is full of men and masculinity. The protagonists are boys who want to prove their worth and avoid getting bullied. Their identities are given weight by capability and strength in Aavesham. The seniors achieve this through numbers and force. The trio have neither, so they look to someone who has. Their role model / weapon is a child himself behaviorally, including the men who follow him. Yeah, it is goofy to see and it's comedic as well, but it's also really purposeful in furthering its themes. The film's answer to these male stereotypes is such obvious genius, and we'll get to that. But first, let's talk of the trio. This will be a bit of a speed run, so bear with me.
Three boys, Ajay, Shantanu and BB from a small town have joined a college.
They strike up a quick friendship under the bullying and ragging of seniors. In trying to stand up to them, they end up becoming the target of one senior, Kutti, who takes offense to the slide and then beats them up for a day till he takes them under his wing. I.e., we're cool as long as you do / give me whatever I want. The leader of this trio, Ajay, takes offense to this and decides to recruit
local support.
The way they do this is by going to thorough local bars and hoping to find some big cut to be buddies with. What they end up doing is wasting a bunch of cash till they run into this guy. And they think, yeah, this guy can help take out that college senior. Naturally, everything goes tits up after that. Bharadwaj Rangan put it best where
here a few men find themselves unleashing a gangster named Ranga, and this impulsive act again backfires on them.
The movie is relentless in its humor, constantly assaulting you with jokes. Something as simple as this. Don't forget gun. Or this. Or this. Or this. This movie bleeds funny and irreverence. The one-liner of the flick itself is funny, but when combined with the narrative that is constantly pushing at how ridiculous it can get, it's hilarious. Now we have our narrative thread set up neat and tidy, but this irreverence never runs countercourse to the other storyline. They complement each other quite well. Sincerity is never made fun of. When shit looks cool, it looks cool. When something is emotional or sad, it is emotional. It is sad. That being said, the movie wastes no time in getting to satirizing with these made-up star handles that make fun of ridiculous real-life star handles. The boys are young, inexperienced, and take Ranga for granted, disregarding all the chaos and violence that follows it. Meanwhile, Ranga is just happy for some sort of friendship, and boy does he crave it. Like the way he strikes up a friendship with the trio itself is kinda sad. He takes care of them. He gets them their own house, stocked with beer, cigarettes, and a bike as well, just because the warden complains about their timings. He beats up their bullies, he takes them to fights, saves their lives from the same fights. But at the same time, this also doesn't stop him from nearly slashing Bibi or almost accidentally putting them in harm's way. This is the mirror of the same childish joy and enthusiasm you see from him. Makes sense he would express negative emotions with the same intensity. He's quite grey as a character and the film treats him as such. He's both a capricious and uncontrollable id, while at the same time he's the same man yearning for affection and love through all the chaos he conjures. Meanwhile, the trio are once dumb and relatable. Deciding to use Ranga is stupid, but it is believably stupid because they never see Ranga do any of the things his men hype up about him. The movie constantly shows the respect and importance these three give: physical strength, respect, reputation, identity, and how they ape after it but never really see the reality behind any of these things. The main narrative all but ends by the first half. The trio have a need, they find a solution, and they win with a hilarious mass fight scene to boot. But like exploring Ranga's what happens after, we see the same now for the trio and the aforementioned male stereotypes. Here it sets up what is core to tying up all the film's thematic threads in the third act. One night, after a bunch of partying, Ranga wakes up in his jeep to Bibi's phone ringing. This moment showcases deconstruction with reverence best in my opinion. Where, yeah, it's funny Bibi has this for his mother's ringtone because of course he does. But in a mere few minutes, you're left emotionally unsteady and a little vulnerable feeling when she asks Ranga a simple question.
More happy ano?
Not happy.
Bibi more happy ano?
Now they have the attention and adoration of this psychotic criminal with mommy issues who could turn violent on them for trying to leave him or even just fucking up a dumb charades game. They decide to betray him and have him killed by plotting with his mentor. This plot point is important because it seamlessly coincides with and gives credence to Ranga's past while also furthering his arc. What happens after all of this? Ranga is betrayed. Ranga faces the wall. This is an unexpectedly emotional and fitting reveal for what you assume to be something else. You think he's stealing and cutting himself off, but in reality, he's in pieces over having to do that. This is the growth part of the narrative. We see Ranga repeat his cycle, his reaction to betrayal or loss, violence, and closing himself off emotionally. And so he does. He proves his identity, his worth, and reality checks the trio in the coolest fucking way possible.
Hey! Time kodu! Ready or bagel va? Bandro.
On the side of writing, it shows you exactly why Ranga gets betrayed by putting you in the shoes of the people betraying him in the first place, which is so sly and so clever, I cannot give it enough fucking praise. In one move, you've understood and empathized with Ranga and with the people who've betrayed him, and you've never seen this coming because you've just kind of been innocently following this trio, leading to them making this choice. On the audience's side, you were promised something at the start. This action scene is fucking spectacular, full of smooth, fluid camera work, entertaining moves, and just as you're soaking in the fun of it all, the music cuts. Ranga is going to kill his mentor, his guru, the latest betrayal, and what does he want?
Identity.
He decides to give it right back.
Identity beka. Tago ni katti. Wait short.
Now he has nothing except vengeance on his mind. There's one way he can take this identity back, and it is by... As he's venting all the issues he has with them, he inadvertently starts venting and going off on his men and eventually himself. And here we get to the core of Aavesham. Again, the film is incredible in how it balances the sincere sentiment and sadness Ranga feels with the utter hilarity of his bodyguard's reaction to all this. This tonal switching is something the film handles so well, and it always happens in unexpectedly key moments. But this doesn't mean anything is resolved. Ranga still wants blood. His men still want blood. As Ranga is caving through the door to get to them, he's interrupted by...
Hello? Mone? Bibi? കേൾക്കുന്നില്ലേ? മോനെ? രംഗമോനെ? മോൻ ഹാപ്പിയാണോ? ബിബി മോൻ ഹാപ്പിയാണോ?
Hearing Bibi's mother's voice is such a shocking reality check. It hits him and us that these are just kids. Kids who are in way over their heads. And here is where Ranga grows. He doesn't kill them. Instead, deciding the trio are toxic, cutting them off and wishing them well. He's never done this in his gangster rise to fame, never shown emotional maturity, and he's never been shown that as well. He exits the house only to be greeted by all his men crying right along with him, not judging him in the slightest while he looks defeated. After all, his identity was taken away and he couldn't even reclaim it. But then, Nanjappa reminds him that this doesn't mean he's nothing anymore. He's still Ranga. He's still the same man they all respect, love, and will follow into hell. And the outfit he wears in the end cements this, as it is the polar opposite of what he wore before. Ending with Ranga trying to help the kids the only way he knows how. This is a rarity nowadays. Comedies are mostly dead in the blockbuster arena, much less parodies of the very masala flicks that dominate the space. And yet, here you have a movie that does all that with a dumbass grin on its face. I mentioned that it deconstructs with reverence, and this is what you end up with when you do that. A parody of a genre becoming one of the finest additions to the genre itself. Thank you for watching. More videos to come, as you know. Like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye.